Hello, welcome to another of my videos. Today I'll be trying to show how you could also get payment information from the KoraPay API, the KoraPay gateway into your own database so you could track customers' payments also on your own platform instead of always going to confirm the payment from say the Kora um, dashboard. So you won't be able to get that information in your system. So I'll be real quick with this. So you want to set up some in your backend service. I'm using Node.js here, JavaScript, and I'm also using MongoDB with Mongoose. So if you are conversant with this, then you can follow along. On the KoraPay documentation, you find out that when you want to receive payments using just KoraPay, after you're done with the payment, you have a couple options to use: on close, on success, field. There are many more that you could use. Also, we have on tokenized, on pending to also use. But the one that you are more concerned about is either on close, on success, on field. You can decide to do whatever you want to do with on close. And on field, also on field, you want to get that information back from from KoraPay. Sorry about my voice. So what you want to check out is this information you'll be getting from the KoraPay checkout option. So we are looking at checkout standard right now, and this data code it's probably going to be an object that contains an amount, reference, and status, and they're all strings, right? So you want to get that information in your database. So just create a little model for that payment schema, and we have that amount, reference, and status. And I created a model I called it payment proof. Okay, and ran my server. In my database, you probably find it over here as payment proofs. So if you look inside there, we currently have nothing in it. I'll quickly do a hard refresh, and we have nothing inside of it. So I'm going to create some actions to receive that payment. So I'm using real quick, do not judge this. This is for tutorial purposes, because usually you would have to okay, I think for this we can go ahead with this one, except you're trying to use the webhook. And I haven't figured the webhook part out yet, because I think there's some things I need to set up differently for the webhook, but just for an API call this should work fine. So I'm just going to check if they have something in the request body, and if there's nothing, I'll request for that information, and if there's something there, I'm just going to take it and pass this information into a variable called payment data and wait for a payment model you just created over here. You have to import it into this place, and run the create function from Mongoose, and pass in the required information from the request body, so amount, reference, and status. So we're expecting this to come from the data we'll be sending to this API, and then when it's successful, you want to run status 200 and send this information back to the user. Okay, so this is how we've set this up, and just pass it to export it, and inside of, I think I should save this, inside of your user router you are going to have receive it here, confirm payment, and pass it here. So we are not going to do any authentication for this to run. I think it's inadvisable while running this kind of event that you have no authentication on it. I think that's for the webhook. You can try to authenticate this also, because it's a direct API call, so you can authenticate this. For now, I'm just doing a real simple for tutorial purposes. Okay, so this is the API. I've hosted it in using render, so we are going to try to go ahead and use it. So in my front-end application, this is the way I'm going to be implementing it. So I already have my public key from KoraPay inside of my env file. I'm going to install Axios, and from the KoraPay API, if you KoraPay documentation, I mean, you just basically, where's that checkout standard? Basically, copy and paste this information into the KoraPay API from the script. I'm using React. So using React, I think I just have to say that using React, you would have to take this script the script tag and pass it into your index.js file, and so you have access to this um, this information, this JavaScript file, whenever we call on the Kora API. So take that, and we also want to get access to it using the Kora function over here, but we're not going to pass that button into that index.html. What we want to do is inside of the page or the particular place you want to use it, which in my instance is my cart page. So I'll take this, but I'm not using this notification URL, which is the webhook. I'm using this one right here that has this option. So what you could do is to take this, copy and paste it. So what I've done is exactly that. So paste that in here, and this is what I have. So you have to generate your reference using some kind of way. This is how I've done mine, taking the logged in username, and all this should be coming from your authentication process in your application. And on success, you want to do something. So the reason why I'm doing this right now like this, I initially just put payment success inside of this place, but I realized that I was having multiple calls to the API, and I'm thinking that it's probably because this is a React component and is a function, because whenever you click on pip Kora on this button right here, here's that button, okay, on this button right here, what happens is it takes you to a different page where Kora does this thing, and then it brings you back to this page. So on success that happens, and I believe when it comes back here, because this API is called, this is a component and it's called again, that happens. I might not be totally sure, I might be wrong, but I had to fix my problem myself before maybe I reach out to KoraPay to get to understand why that happens. So I had to set this variable here to false, and when it runs it should be false, and this function doesn't run again until that button is clicked. So once we get into it, it becomes true, and it doesn't run anymore because it's now true. It should only run when it's false. So this is what I'm doing here. So what's inside of this payment success? I'm passing data to. So remember the API I just created, right? Yes, I pass it to this Axios inside of this place, right? It's my env file. You know how to get that if you're a backend developer. Just passing the URL there, and you're passing the data as the data you're getting. And what I'm trying to do here is I'm getting an alert with the response data and message. And remember what our message is. Our message is confirm. What our message is payment status, and then we get payment data status, which is either going to be success. It has to be success at this point because you're only using it for success. So if it's going to, if you want to run the same information for field, you probably have to go ahead and pass it into field. But for now, I'm just going to run it on success. Okay, right. So let me quickly use this application I'm showing you right now. I believe I've explained how the code is running. Let me go over it one more time. You create a model, a schema for your model, and you create a function that will be passed into the API like this, and export it, confirm payment, and in your user router or your router, wherever you're using it, you call it through the router process, and you know what happens in your server. Everything happens in your server, and then you test before you go ahead and push. So like I've also showed in the front end area, we run this payment success function. So anyway, the payment, I had to run this outside separately because I had to make it an async function. I realized that this is not an async function. I didn't want to tamper with it, so I just kept it as the function it is and created an async function outside of it, so I can run my try and catch in case anything fails. So this is what it is. Let's go ahead and test it out, guys. Alright, so I'm going to try to log in. If I have my details here on this, okay, user not found, I have to sign up. Alright, so I'll be real quick. I need to pass in my full name because before you could use that KoraPay API, your user has to have a name. So I'll sign up on this, then I can log in, paste. And there's something nice I like about this, right? And I'll show you real quickly. So I'm just going to add a couple of these items to my cart so that I can pay. So I get one for myself and one for somebody else. So I'll go to my cart, and these are some dummy information. This is an app built for tutorial purposes. All right, so let's just go ahead and click on pay. We have the payment information here. This is written in dollars, but we are working with naira, so go ahead and use that. At this point, you can pay with debit card. I'll just pick success without authentication and click on pay. It's 7,000. I got to success, and we're back to our app. All right, so I am supposed to get, and when this runs, I should get alert with this message. So I didn't get an alert with that message. Let's go check our database if we have this guy in here. So it didn't come back, so we are having some problem over here. So I just go ahead and check my console, and I think it might still be running that function. That's why that hasn't happened. So when that the whole thing is done happening, then we should get that alert. I'm just going to hold on for a while to see that happen. Come back to refresh. Still hasn't come. I should have used my network tab immediately. So I'll just go ahead and run this again. But I think that this wouldn't happen twice if the amount and the items in my cart are the same. So I'll probably just add in another item in my cart. Say add the slippers in, and I get that. Go to the cart and click on pay. So this one runs for charges, and all these ones are for KoraPay API. So I'll go ahead and click on success with no authentication. Then I do that. Then this is the API we are expecting to run, so it's still pending. I think just like the other one, and the reason why it's pending is because we are using a free hosting service, which is Render, and it could have piped down by now. So what I'll do is, okay, we can see here that payment status success, and I think this should be for the first one because this is still pending. Right, it should be for the first one that we created. You click on OK, and now for the second one that we created, payment status success, and this is fine. Now I'm going to leave this like this, and we would go to my database and confirm what we just saw and said. So I'll be expecting 2 payment processes, and this is what I have. One is for 87,000 and the other one is for 132,000. Right, so these 2 payment processes have gone through. So you need to make sure that your API is really fast so that you don't run into these problems in case the buyer wants to buy twice. Now I could go ahead and test this. Now I've bought for 132,000 naira with the same items in my cart. Maybe that thing happens and the user didn't get that feedback that payment was successful from your own application, but it showed successful on KoraPay checkout process. Maybe the user will try to do it again, and let's see what happens when I try to do it again with the same amount and the same items in my cart. So I'll click on pay. Takes me to the same process I did initially, and I click pay with no authentication, and around that I get success, and it doesn't run my confirm for me. And that's a great idea. You might think it's bad, but that's great because this customer might be paying twice for these items, and that's not good. That might be an overcharge, right? So it doesn't run twice. If I try to do it one more time, which is the 3rd time, let's do it again. No authentication. I click on it. It says successful, but it doesn't run my on success API, and that's very good. That's a good thing. So for this to run, we have to wait a while. Maybe I don't know how long it is for the KoraPay API to do that, but it takes a while to redo this for this to happen again. Like maybe after an hour, then they can come and try again, and then maybe that time it will go because maybe they're not repeating the same thing, right? We are sure that they're not repeating the same thing, but you want to also handle it from your end to make sure that you need to ask them, this is the same thing you paid for just recently, you want to pay for it again, something like that. But for this item to actually go through, I'm going to add another item and change the amount and change the items in the cart, and by this time our confirm should run on success. So let's go ahead and click pay with debit card, and now we have 172. Now you can see our confirm running and our payment status is success. And if you check our DB, we should have 3 items in there. Great. So 172 and this and that. So that's it, guys. That's how to go about this. And hit me up in my comments if you have any questions, if you have any thoughts on this, if I had maybe mistakenly said something that's not correct, or purposely said something that's not correct. Also reach out to me also on via comments, and let's learn together. Thank you.